Man lies motionless for 7 years. Nurse unwraps bandage at 3 a.m., what she found will haunt you. In the dim light of the hospital room, shadows danced around the figure lying still on the bed. Silence wrapped itself around him like a shroud, thick and unyielding. Every hour, the clock ticked louder, the air crackled with a mystery that no one could quite grasp. What could be in that bandage? For 7 long years, Robert Ellis remained a silent, untouched enigma, his life held in a fragile balance while the world outside moved on. Nurse Lisa cringed each time she caught sight of him. There was something about his stillness that sent shivers down her spine, like the chill of a winter morning that wouldn't shake off. She could hear the whispers of other nurses. They called him a living ghost. The stories spun around the hospital like a web, thick with incredulity and awe. Some swore they caught glimpses of his eyes fluttering beneath the lids, while others claimed they felt a pulse beat deep within him, alive yet trapped. It was 3 a.m. when the stillness cracked under the weight of a decision. Lisa had prepared herself. This would be the moment she'd finally lift the bandage. The air felt electric against her skin. She approached the bed, her heart pounding like a drum, ready to unveil whatever lay beneath that tattered wrapping. As she reached for the edge, a low groan slipped from Robert's lips, breaking the heavy silence. Did he sense her? Did he even know she was there? Or was it just another cruel trick of their shared fate? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Lisa held her breath, her fingers trembling slightly. She could almost feel the weight of the bandage as if it held secrets begging to be freed. With each yank, her heart raced faster. The air felt charged as though the very walls of the hospital were waiting, straining for the moment of revelation. What would emerge from this long slumber? A twisted expression? An answer to his years of trauma? Then, the fabric finally fell away. What she saw stopped her cold. It felt like the world spun on a different axis in those intense seconds. What lay beneath wasn't just flesh, it was something more. It was too grotesque, too unreal. She gulped, a lump forming in her throat, her mind racing in panic. What was this creature? Was this the man she had cared for all these years, or something lost, something that had dwelled too long in the depths? As others peeked into the room, murmurs filled the air. Is he awake? Someone whispered, their eyes wide with excitement and dread. But all Lisa could think about was the strange mark that rippled across Robert's chest, a symbol draped in unspeakable history. What did it mean? Beneath the surface, an ancient fear twisted with curiosity. There was no telling what might happen next. Who was Robert Ellis really? What had he been hiding all this time? The intensity of the moment hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Something had awakened. And whatever it was just getting started. The room remained charged, a tangible energy pulsing through the air, tight with anticipation. Lisa took a hesitant step back, her breath caught in her throat, eyes still glued to Robert's chest. The symbol glowed faintly, an otherworldly shimmer casting an odd light that was both frightening and mesmerizing. Suddenly, she felt a prickling at the back of her neck. She wasn't alone. Nurse Michelle had entered the room, drawn by the whispers. What happened? She queried, her voice low and cautious. The curiosity in her tone was matched by palpable fear etched across her features. Lisa opened her mouth to respond, but the words froze, unable to form. Before she could speak, Robert stirred. The movement was subtle at first, a twitch of his fingers that sent adrenaline rushing through Lisa's veins. Then, his lips parted, a guttural sound escaping. It was neither a plea nor a cry, but a sound from somewhere deep within, a mere hint of the life he had been holding back. Lisa felt her heart race, constricting tightly as if gripped by icy fingers. Is he? Michelle's eyes widened, fear mingling with the excitement of the unknown. Robert's eyes flickered beneath their lids. The bandage had fallen away, but the truth of his condition loomed larger than mere flesh. It was as if something had awakened within, an ancient force clawing at its confines. The air thickened, weighted down by uncertainty. Suddenly, the hospital lights began to flicker. The hum of machines sputtered and whined as if responding to Robert's unrest. Lisa felt a cold wave washing over her, sending chills down her spine. What was happening? Was he at mercy of something bigger than all of them? Just then, Robert's eyes flew open, their once dull depths ignited like embers. Michelle gasped, stepping back as terror flooded the room. For a long moment, Robert stared at Lisa, and she met his gaze with a mix of fear and compassion. "Help me," he breathed, the words barely forming as if Herculean effort was needed to produce sound. Lisa felt a jolt at those words. It was the first time in years he had spoken. The entire room held its breath, waiting, trembling at the implications. Help him? From what? And why did it feel like the walls themselves were closing in, around them? Shadows flickered more violently now, lights dancing as if echoing Robert's awakening. Lisa's gaze shifted back to the strange symbol, pulsating in rhythm with Robert's newfound vitality. It wasn't just a mark. It was a warning. "Get the doctor." Michelle cried, her voice cutting through the tension, but Lisa was frozen, captivated by the intricate lines of the symbol, drawing her in, whispering secrets. Then Robert's body convulsed, the sound of rattling breaths filled the air, and his eyes rolled back into his head. Just as quickly, the room plunged into darkness. The sudden silence was deafening. Then, without warning, a door slammed shut somewhere in the hospital, echoing ominously down the hall. Lisa's heart raced. Was this truly an awakening, or had they stirred something far worse? In the quiet aftermath, an unsettling realization hit. Whatever had been asleep in Robert was now awake. But why? What had been unleashed? And even more frightening, what would it demand in return? This thought hung suspended in the air. Who was Robert Ellis? What darkness had lingered all these years, waiting for a moment to break free? And as she moved to reach out, a low rumble echoed from the depths of the hospital. It was the sound of a long-buried past clawing its way to the surface. Lisa's pulse quickened. They were tied together now, bound by secrets weaving in and out of sight. Whatever lay ahead, one thing was certain: things were never going to be the same again. What other hidden horrors awaited them in the dark corners of this hospital? Lisa's breath quickened, a mixture of fear and determination coursing through her veins. The darkness felt alive, pulsating with another heartbeat, as if the hospital itself was a living entity, watching them. Michelle stood frozen, wide-eyed, her hand resting on the light switch that refused to respond. "Robert!" Lisa called, her voice rising above the oppressive quiet. No answer. Just the unsettling echoes of a restless past. Shadows danced at the corners of her vision, twisting in ways that didn't feel natural. "Stay back, Lisa," Michelle said, her voice trembling. But Lisa couldn't. Something deep within urged her forward. Her heart pounded erratically against her ribcage, each thump echoing a sense of urgency. The darkness felt thick, smothering. She squinted, trying to pierce through it, but all she could see was the outline of Robert's bed and the thick shadow of his form beneath the sheets. The symbol on his chest glowed brighter for a brief moment, illuminating the space with a ghostly light before plunging back into obscurity. "Don't touch him!" Michelle shouted again, panic rising. But the moment hung heavy, secrets unfurling in the silence. Robert was changing. She could feel it. Like tendrils of smoke, the energy wrapped around her, pulling her closer to whatever lay beneath his skin. "Something is wrong," Lisa murmured. "We have to find out what." Without thinking, she stepped closer, hesitating as she reached for Robert's hand, warm but unresponsive. Just then, a flicker of movement caught her eye. she gasped. Robert's fingers twitched again, more violently this time, and his mouth opened in a silent scream. The glow of the symbol flared like a beacon. It illuminated the room for a fleeting moment, revealing hospital equipment that now looked foreign and sinister. The floors seemed to tremble as if warning them. The sound of footsteps echoed outside the door. Lisa's heart sank. If they didn't act quickly, they might lose the chance to learn the truth. "Michelle, we have to." Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, not with the steady glow they had known, but with violent strobing pulses. The walls vibrated, and the noise rose a dull roar, building intensity, drowning out all rational thought. "Run!" Michelle screamed, already darting towards the door. But Lisa was rooted in place, transfixed. The symbol pulsed again, sending a shockwave through the air, ricocheting against the hospital walls. "We can't leave him," Lisa pleaded. Robert's eyes shot open, locking onto hers, full of terror and something indescribable, a pleading that twisted her insides. "Help me." This time it was louder. The room trembled with the weight of his desperation. Before she could respond, the sound of scratching erupted from outside the room, sharp and relentless. It felt like something was trying to claw its way in, a breathless urgency that mirrored the chaos within. "What is that?" Michelle whimpered as she pressed her back against the door, panic flaring in her eyes. Just then, the lights flickered violently again, dimming drastically before illuminating an eerie, dark figure behind them. In that instant, reality warped. Lisa's stomach dropped. The figure loomed larger, its features indistinct yet undeniably menacing. Robert's eyes darted to it, filled with terror, and at that moment, Lisa understood. Whatever terror had been dormant within Robert had awakened, not just in him, but in the very fabric of the hospital itself. "Get out!" Lisa shouted, but her voice wavered as the lights died again, plunging them into an abyss. Darkness enveloped them, but within it, Lisa felt a burning question ignite in her mind. What had they unleashed, and, more importantly, how could they contain it? If they couldn't find the light again, would they all be consumed? The air grew colder, each breath a struggle. Lisa felt it seep into her bones, an uncomfortable chill mixed with dread as she stood motionless, feeling the weight of the darkness descend. The frantic thumps of her heart echoed like a drum, spiraling into a rhythm of panic. Michelle pressed herself tighter against the door, eyes wide, scanning for any sign of movement. "We have to do something," she whispered, but it was more of a plea than a command. Desire to flee was written all over her face, the shadows around them gurgling with their own malevolence. "Robert!" Lisa called, her voice trembling. The gentle crackle of the hospital's intercom broke the silence, momentarily drowning out the scratching sound that clawed at their sanity. She reached out, fingers brushing against the damp fabric of Robert's sheets. The moment felt electric. Was he really there, or just a figment of the darkness's twisted machinations? Suddenly, Robert's body lurched. Lisa stumbled back, gasping as she felt a surge of energy crash against her. It was as if he was tethered to something far more powerful than she could understand. The symbol on his chest burned brighter, casting grotesque shadows on the walls where reality seemed to stretch and bend. "Lisa, we need to go," Michelle cried out again, panic-stricken. "Please." But neither of them made a single move toward the door. Instead, they remained entranced by Robert, whose once still form erupted with urgency. "Help me!" His voice broke through the darkness, desperation echoing in the small, shadowed room. It wasn't just a plea, it was an invocation, calling upon unseen forces. The dark figure behind them shifted, its form writhing, feeding off their fear. "Stay back!" Lisa shouted, suddenly feeling the primal instinct to protect, to confront whatever awaited them. "I can't leave him." The scratching grew louder, the door frame rattled, and she could almost taste the malice that seeped through the cracks. "What do you want?" she demanded, voice shredding with defiance. The figure loomed closer, its presence hissing as if answering her in a language of pure dread. Shadows swirled and wove around Michelle, wrapping like vines tightening around a helpless victim. Just then, Robert's body stilled. The glow of the symbol dimmed to a faint ember as his eyes snapped shut. The room plunged into an unsettled silence, leaving only the haunting sound of the scratching outside. A nauseating panic swirled in Lisa's gut as she realized the darkness was waiting, hungry for their fear. In a flash, time shifted. The lights flickered, plunging the room into a near-complete void, and just as quickly, they flickered back on, but with a horrific revelation. The dark figure was now inches away from Michelle, eye sockets hollow, revealing only a profound emptiness where normal features should have been. With every fiber of her being, Lisa wanted to scream, but the words were trapped in her throat. Then, she saw it. A shadowed hand reached for Michelle's shoulder, spectral and sorrowful. "Don't!" Lisa screamed, feeling everything within her break free. She lunged toward Michelle, grasping her arm, pulling her away just as the hand touched her. A surge of energy ricocheted through the air, a force that sent both women sprawling to the cold, sterile floor. The lights flickered once more but only illuminated destined chaos. Robert's form convulsed violently under the sheets, awakening something within him that made the very air feel charged, like static before a summer storm. Her eyes darted between the imposing figure inching toward them and Robert's disintegrating consciousness. Lisa knew instinctively this was over. The battle was just beginning. What did we awaken? Michelle's voice was barely a whisper, trembling with fear laced with confusion. The scratching intensified, reverberating through the room as if the hospital itself was alive, channeling every wretched spirit that ever passed through its stark walls. With the malevolent figure closing in and Robert waking fully to what they had unleashed, Lisa couldn't help but wonder. What if the true horror had just begun? The moment slowed, a heavy breath caught in the air between shadows and reality. Lisa's heart hammered like a frantic drummer, each beat a reminder of her vulnerability. The figure loomed closer, its presence suffocating, as if the very essence of fear had manifested before them. "Robert!" Lisa called again, a fierce desperation woven into her voice. She hadn't forgotten the warmth of his laugh or the spark in his eyes. She couldn't lose him, not now. Robert's body convulsed, thrashing against the restraints of the bed. Each jerk sent ripples of energy through the air, almost palpable, inviting the darkness to dance closer. "Help me!" he gasped, voice shaking under the weight of something unseen. The figure stretched its skeletal fingers toward him, grotesque and ghostly, unrivaled in its malevolence. Shadows swallowed the little light left in the room, suffocating hope as Lisa's world adjusted to this new nightmare. "Get away from him!" Michelle shrieked, her voice nearly lost in the cacophony of scratching, akin to nails clawing insistently against grave soil. She yanked Lisa back, glancing at the door where sanity and safety lay, but they were both paralyzed by the spectacle before them. A rasping sound echoed from the walls, as if the hospital itself were moaning, tired and cursed. Now it was the figure's laughter, low, mocking, like the sound of breaking glass. "You cannot protect what is lost," it hissed, each word dripping with malice. Lisa felt the cold grip on her temple tighten. "Shut up!" she screeched, desperate to drown it out, but her voice barely held, twisting with panic as the pounding of her pulse stole her concentration. "Lisa, we have to run," Michelle urged again, eyes darting between the door and Robert. "Not without him." A sudden surge of determination electrified Lisa. She unleashed a primal scream, a mixture of terror and desperate anger, and leaped toward Robert. The floor tiles felt slick under her feet as she skidded to his side. Reaching for the bandages, she ripped them away. The sight was beyond anything she could have imagined, a mark etched into his skin, dark and swirling, pulsating with eerie light. The moment the fabric fell, Robert's eyes shot open, wide and reflecting the horror of his awakening. They're all here," he gasped, staring past Lisa, deep into a void only he could see. The walls trembled, shaking off dust and despair as shadows writhed. "You've unleashed them, girl," the figure crooned, its empty eye sockets fixated on Lisa, hungry for her fear. "What do you mean?" she yelled back, desperate for any answers. "They are bound to him. They will take you too," it whispered, voice curling like smoke around her brain. Suddenly, the temperature dropped even further, and Lisa felt the tide of dread swirl into a frigid grip around her heart. No, no, you won T. She gritted her teeth, forcing herself to look past the terrifying figure. Robert's gaze locked onto hers, filled with an urgency that faded only when the depths of the shadow closed in for him. No! She screamed, her voice veering off pitch, and she threw herself across the bed, arms outstretched, just as the spectre lunged. Time hung suspended, the seconds stretching like a taut string. A rush of energy flickered, electric and unforgiving, and then darkness engulfed Lisa completely. In that split second, all she could feel was Robert's hand slipping from hers. In the penumbra of confusion, a singular thought burned: was this truly the end, or just the beginning of something far worse? Lisa feared she knew the truth, that once they crossed this threshold, they were devoured by the shadows of the hospital. But what haunted her most was that familiar whisper, from deep within Robert's unyielding gaze, echoing the words, "It's only just begun." The darkness wrapped around Lisa like a suffocating blanket. She felt weightless, lost in a void, the world of sounds and sights swallowed whole. She wanted to scream, to fight back the shadows that crept closer, but no sound escaped her lips. Suddenly, a jolt shot through her body. Bright lights flashed like strobe lights through the thick black, illuminating the fissures of fear. She blinked and gasped as the hospital room snapped back into focus. But it was different now. Robert lay motionless, eyes glazed, and the figure stood at the foot of the bed, its form a collection of shadows, twisting and coiling like smoke. The pulsating mark on Robert's skin flickered dimly, casting eerie shadows across the walls, as if it was alive, breathing with a purpose that Lisa couldn't understand. "Robert!" She cried, but her voice felt hollow, echoing back at her. She reached out, her fingers trembling as they brushed against his hand. Cold. Lifeless. "Lisa!" The whisper came from the figure, slithering into her thoughts. "You shouldn't have freed him." She turned, fear gripping her. The figure's face was an empty void, and yet she felt it watching her. "I want to let you take him." "You unwrapped the binding," it crooned, each word dripping with satisfaction. "You let them in." A new wave of dread crashed over her. They? Who were they? As if sensing her confusion, the shadows danced excitedly, a frenzy of whispers rising, churning the air thick with terror. "Run!" Michelle's voice broke through like a lifeline. Distracted by the figure, Lisa hadn't noticed her friend inching toward the door, a desperate outline against the roiling darkness. "Don't! Stay back!" Lisa yelled, gripping Robert's arm tighter as if he were her anchor in a storm. But Michelle's feet were rooted in fear. "We're not leaving him. This is madness, Lisa." Her confusion echoed like a dagger, splitting the air between them. The figure laughed, a high-pitched, chilling sound that sent shivers down Lisa's spine. "You cannot protect him. He is already ours." "No!" Lisa shouted, panic igniting her resolve. She stood, clenched fists at her sides. "You want to take him." The shadows flickered around her, responding to her anger, swirling into a dark tempest. The figure's laughter morphed into a growl, the atmosphere thickening with rage. Without warning, Robert's eyes shot open, and in that instant, Lisa felt the room tremble. "They are here." His voice was eerily calm, utterly unlike the boy she loved. A truth coursed from his lips that sank into her bones. "What do you mean, Robert?" She felt a trembling in her heart, desperate for him to return, praying he wasn't gone forever. "They want your fear, Lisa." He rasped, comprehension washing over his features. "They need it to keep feeding. If they take me, you're next." The shadows shrank back as if they were following some ancient, hidden law. But they didn't leave. Instead, they tightened, weaving their way around Lisa, whispering sweet promises of despair. Muffled memories of laughter, warmth, and life seemed to wash over her, quickly replaced by the raw, throbbing realization of her predicament. She was caught in a gripping web of horror, and Robert was losing his fight. "We need to break the bond," Lisa said, panic sharpening her mind. "How do we do it?" "They need something in offering." His eyes flickered toward the dark mass at the foot of the bed. "Your fear is not enough. They want your life, your very essence." Before she could respond, the shadows surged forward, tendrils reaching for Lisa, wrapping around her limbs like chains. Lisa felt her heartbeat quickening, drowning in despair. No. Not like this. The panic swirled, and she struggled, her breath coming in rapid bursts. But deep inside, a spark of defiance ignited. "I want to let them have me." In that moment of clarity, Lisa summoned the strength she didn't know she possessed. "I choose life," she shouted, voice reverberating through the chaos. The shadows recoiled, hissing as her words pierced through the darkness. "Would it be enough?" "Lisa." Robert's voice was barely a whisper now, laced with a fragility that twisted her heart. "You must find a way." As the dark fingers clutched tighter, threatening to squeeze the very light from her soul, a fearsome determination swept through her. But what kind of offering could break a bond so deeply rooted in despair? The hospital around them pulsed ominously, as if an answer was waiting just beyond reach. With time running out, the question hung in the air: what did she truly have to lose? As she delved deeper into the shadows, the walls whispered secrets just out of her grasp. Each moment felt agonizing, but she wouldn't go down without a fight. Her heart raced, balancing on the edge of a knife. What darkness lay ahead, waiting to be confronted? Lisa's breath quickened as the shadows tightened around her. The room spun, a dance of terror that pulled her deeper into its clutches. She felt the icy whisper of despair brush against her skin, threatening to snuff out the flicker of defiance that burned in her chest. "I choose life," she repeated, clutching Robert's hand like a lifeline set against the tempest, but the figure at the foot of the bed only seemed to revel in her struggle. "You cannot escape your fate, child," it hissed, the words dripping with malice. Lisa's head spun, torn between the darkness that demanded her essence and the boy she knew buried somewhere inside Robert's hollow gaze. "We need a plan," she breathed, her mind racing. The memories they shared, their laughter during summer days, the warmth of stolen kisses flooded back. Those moments held significance, a vibrancy that could counter the shadows. But how to harness that power? "Lisa." Robert's voice was strained, a fragile thread barely holding on. "Think of what matters most to you." What mattered? She thought of her family, her dreams, and yes, Robert. Every choice she'd made, every moment they shared, played like a movie in her mind. And then it dawned on her: hope, love, and light had power. Perhaps they could break the bond. Lisa squeezed Robert's hand tightly, her next words laced with determination. "I choose us. I choose our memories, Robert. I choose the love we have." Each declaration was an anchor, pulling her back from the brink of despair. The shadows writhed, reeling back, as if her words were a shield repelling them. The air around her thickened, fear and resolve intertwining like a violent storm. The figure screeched, a sound that froze the blood in her veins. "You can't shield yourself with memories. They are dust in the void." "Maybe," Lisa shot back, heart racing, "but they're dust that can still ignite a fire." In that moment, she closed her eyes and envisioned their happiest times, their trips to the coast, the quiet evenings spent stargazing, every shared smile. Positive energy coursed through her, mixing with the fierce love she held for him. If love was an offering they wanted, she would lay it all bare. "Come on, Robert," she urged, her voice echoing against the silence. "Fight with me. Remember what we had." And slowly, as if an unseen force pressed against Robert's shattered spirit, she saw a flicker of life in those glazed eyes. The shadows shrank back, unsteady, as if they too felt the shift in power. "Lisa," his voice trembled, gaining strength. "I remember the ocean." The emptiness began to fill, and the shadows howled in agony as they thrashed, struggling against this unanticipated resistance. Just then, Michelle was shaking from the side, trapped in her own battle with panic. "What do I do?" she cried, eyes wide. "I can't watch this. Help me." Lisa shouted, desperation thin in her throat. "We have to remember together." A glimmer of connection sparked within Michelle's frightened expression. "Okay, let us do it." They began shouting out memories, each one a blade of light slicing through the darkness. The first beach trip, the way the sun painted the ocean gold at sunset, each word fueled their collective strength. Lisa could feel Robert's grip tightening, could see color returning to his face, and the shadows trembled, drawn into confusion, but in that flicker of hope, she sensed a deeper, insidious darkness shifting behind the figure. Something stirred, more powerful, awakening from slumber. A knot of terror tightened in her stomach. "Lisa, something's wrong." Robert's voice splintered, and she could feel the cold bite of fear piercing through their hard-fought warmth. Before she could respond, the shadows surged in a tidal wave, engulfing Robert's body entirely. "No!" Lisa screamed, feeling herself tear away from the moment, as if someone was pulling the very ground from beneath her feet. Light flickered out, plunging her into darkness once more. The figure's laughter echoed in her ears like poison, a heavy finality that made her heart pound frantically. What awaited her in this new abyss? Lisa, Robert's voice faded beyond reach, leaving her to drift in a suffocating void where hope threatened to be extinguished. As the heavy silence clawed around her, she felt a truth uncoil within. What was born in light could only be truly undone in darkness. But could she hold on long enough to challenge the shadows, or would they snuff out her last flicker of hope? The darkness pressed in, and she was left with one terrifying thought: do you dare to fight, knowing love might not be enough? Lisa felt herself spin through the void, lost in a night so thick it choked her very breath. Every heartbeat thudded in her ears, a frantic reminder of her reality slipping away. Shadows writhed around her, cold tendrils tightening like a vice, searching for the flicker of her spirit to snuff it out. "Robert!" she screamed, but the name echoed back to her in mocking silence. She clenched her fists, trying to summon the warmth of their shared memories, but it all felt so distant now, like trying to recall a dream that vanished on waking. She cast her mind back, calling out to the ghosts of laughter and love. "We were at the coast. Remember the sun?" she cried desperately. Suddenly, a flicker of light appeared, a small glow emitted from an unseen source behind the oppressive dark. It began small, the way a candle flickers in the dead of night, but it pulsed with the urgency of life. The shadows recoiled, and Lisa was drawn closer, feeling the warmth of hope brush against her skin, but just as she dared to step closer, the haunting figure reappeared, its form even more grotesque, more powerful in this gloom. "You truly believe you can fight me?" the figure hissed, each word crackling with malice. "Love is a fleeting ember in the void." "No," Lisa retorted, and she felt a tremor of defiance pumping through her veins. "You're wrong. Love is a fire that won't be easily extinguished." With each statement, she pushed against the darkness like a warrior brandishing a sword. She thought of Robert, of his laughter, and how they had promised each other forever. "Our love is stronger than your shadows." The figure screeched, a heart-wrenching sound that made her stomach churn. The air vibrated as a ripple of energy flowed through the abyss. "You think your memories can save you? They are chains that bind you to the past, not keys to the future. Memories are the foundation of who we are," she shouted defiantly. "They give us strength." And then, something shifted. The light pulsed brighter, and she could distinguish facets of the shadows surrounding her: pain, regret, loss. They all blended into a terrifying vortex. But there was also something else: vulnerability. Beneath their snarling masks, they were afraid of the light she was conjuring back into existence. "Robert!" she screamed, her voice keening through the darkness like a siren. "Remember the sunsets, how they filled us with dreams. Remember me, remember us." Lisa, his voice surged, breaking through the confines of their shared despair. I'm here." As if on cue, Lisa felt warmth bloom in the pit of her stomach. The light grew even more fierce at the sound of his name, her strength fueled by his. As she concentrated, the edges of the shadows began to blur. "You're not lost, not yet. Just hold on." The figure, now visibly shaken, staggered. "No. This can't be happening." It howled, diminished by the surge of truth seeping back into the air. Yet the very nature of the darkness changed beneath her feet. Something roared behind the figure, a deeper shadow lurking, waiting for its chance. A more sinister threat, hungry for total despair. "Lisa, listen." Robert's voice reverberated with urgency. "It's not just shadows, there's something worse." She felt cold fingers creeping into her mind. "What do you mean?" The darkness throbbed ominously. "The one who sent me, it's not done." Fear seized her heart as the realization hit like ice water. If there was something greater behind this, something that had orchestrated their suffering, could they truly escape? Suddenly, the smothering void quaked as the high-pitched laughter of the figure filled the emptiness once more, and the shadows began to swell ominously. Lisa's heart raced. "We need to fight together, Robert. We have to face whatever's lurking." But before she could gather her resolve, an explosive thunder reverberated through the void, and she caught a glimpse of something from the corner of her eye. Something dreadful awakening. The question lingered, sharp and unforgiving: was there love enough to hold back the new darkness? As her breath hitched, Lisa steeled herself for the oncoming storm, heart pounding with terror and determination. What horror awaited them in the depths, hidden beyond the veil of shadows? The very fabric of the darkness quaked with a malevolent presence, a sinister growl that seeped into Lisa's bones. She felt it wrap around her, cold and coiling, threatening to envelop her completely. Each heartbeat was a countdown to what, she didn't know. "Stay close to me." Robert's voice echoed, more insistent now, slicing through the oppressive gloom. She reached out for him, feeling a tremor in the air as shadows swirled hungrily, eager to consume any vestige of hope. The laughter, the horrible, shattering laughter, grew louder, a cacophony around them. "You think love can shield you?" The grotesque figure taunted, its voice drowning in a sea of mockery. "I'll show you the truth of despair." Then, ripping through the unsettling noises, she caught a glimpse of something shifting in the darkness, a deeper shadow, more expansive and brooding, emerging from beneath the surface like a storm rising from the sea. Lisa's chest tightened with panic. They weren't just facing a tormentor, they were staring into the abyss itself. "Think, Lisa," Robert urged fiercely. "We can't let it take us. We have to believe in each other." His words ignited a flicker of determination within her, a spark that refused to accept defeat. "Together," she shouted, the word cutting through the tumult. It was a declaration, a promise. For every ounce of despair clawing at her, there was an equal measure of hope she could wield. With that resolve, she imagined the light within her, a bold, glowing ember igniting as it pushed back against the encroaching shadows. It radiated with their shared laughter, their whispered dreams, their love that had never truly faded. "You can't have us. We're stronger together." The figure's form twisted, a sickening transformation fueled by rage. "You dare challenge me?" it hissed, gesturing to the dark mass behind it. The deeper shadow pulsated, writhing like some ancient beast, eager to unleash its fury. The ground beneath her began to quake violently as layers of the void peeled back, revealing the roiling chaos below. Lisa's instinct screamed, "Run, escape." But there was nowhere to go except deeper into this nightmare. "Robert!" she called out as the shadows lunged at her, but his presence anchored her, steady and unyielding. "What do we do?" "Trust the light." His voice was fierce. "Concentrate." With newfound ferocity, she imagined the memories swirling around them, woven together like strands of sunlight piercing through darkness. The laughter, the warmth, the security of their time spent together, the essence of their love became a force. She let it rise, feeling it surge through her body and coalesce into a radiant shield. As the shadows clawed and snapped, a blinding light erupted like a supernova, scattering the tendrils of darkness. Lisa squeezed her eyes shut against the brilliance, her heart racing. But then, through the crackling light, she felt it, a pulse. A heartbeat. A primal rhythm echoing from the shadow that had lingered behind. It was ancient and powerful, and for a fleeting moment, Lisa understood that this darkness was just an adversary. It was a hunger that craved despair, that thrived on fear and loss. "Lisa, listen." Robert panted, struggling against the overwhelming edge of darkness. "It's feeding off our fears. We need to face the sorrow. Remember what we've overcome." The thought struck her like lightning. Sorrow had been familiar and nagging companion. But it didn't define them. They were so much more than their pain. "Face our fears," she murmured, her voice trembling but steady. "What am I afraid of?" The answer surged within her, an icy grip around her heart. Losing Robert again. But it was time to reclaim that love. With a shout of defiance, she embraced the memory of their time together, the warmth, the laughter. "We want to let you win." The figure screamed as the light intensified, burning away layers of darkness, erasing every shadow glued to her past. But the deeper pulse grew more furious, a storm rising to consume everything in its path. With a surge of raw energy, Lisa charged forward. She aimed for the heart of the dark mass, ready to confront it directly. And just as she reached the point of no return, the laughter morphed into a chilling growl. "Fools," it hissed, "this is only the beginning." Her breath caught in her throat as the final revelation sank in what more lay beneath the surface. With fear flooding her senses, Lisa charged ahead into the deepest shadows, ready to face whatever new horrors awaited. The darkness coiled around Lisa, but she let her determination flare once more. "I choose love," she shouted, feeling the words spiral from her core and burst into light. The shadows trembled, recoiling from the force of her declaration, revealing glimpses of the landscapes of their memories, waves crashing on beaches, laughter under star-studded skies, and moments filled with warmth and connection. Robert's voice filled the air, clear and steady. "You have to believe it, Lisa. Grab the light." And she did. With every cherished moment surfacing in her mind, a brilliant aura began to overtake her, dispelling the encroaching darkness. She concentrated harder, allowing the love they shared to sweep through her. The afternoon spent wandering hand in hand, the first time they exchanged an electric smile, the dreams they whispered to each other late into the night. "Remember," she urged, her voice ringing with conviction. "We're stronger than this." The shadows writhed and twisted, and a deep growl came from the figure, now contorting in rage. "You think love will save you? We are eternal." "Not today," Lisa shouted back defiantly. She drew closer to Robert, their hands clasped tightly, the warmth of their memories pulsing between them. "Feel it," Robert urged. "Our love is our shield." The darkness roared in protest as their radiant light intensified, illuminating the room. Lisa could sense the sinister presence behind the lurking figure, a deeper layer of terror emerging, but she couldn't falter now. "We face this together," she cried, and as if affirming her words, she felt a connection between them deepening, strong, tenacious, a tether that no amount of malevolence could sever. And as this joyous energy reached a fever pitch, the very fabric of the shadows crumbled. The laughter rang false, a desperate echo, as Lisa and Robert surged through their fears. The floor pulsed like a live wire, and the walls resonated with their newfound strength. Robert's breath was steady beside her. "We can't relent, Lisa. Face the truth." The shadows twisted menacingly, tearing and snapping, but she remained anchored in their bond. "You're nothing but a mirage," she yelled, firing back at the figure that cowered beneath the illuminating force of their unity. In an electrifying moment, she discovered the heart of their darkness, the deep fear that what they feared most could become reality, that they could drift apart and lose everything that mattered. The deeper shadow writhed, manifesting every regret and trepidation. Lisa screamed into the void, "I refuse to let you take my heart." Light exploded with blinding ferocity, ripping the shadows asunder. She could feel their grip beginning to wane, their suffocating whispers fading into distant echoes. You win. This is our moment. Stay with me, please. Robert's voice was a lifeline threading through the collapsing chaos. And together, they charged forward, hearts locked in unity, shattering the last vestiges of despair around them. The darkness screamed in a discordant cacophony, clawing at the edges of their light, but it was too late. Their combined strength blasted the shadows away, scattering their malevolence into stardust. Time seemed to spin, a kaleidoscope of colors swirling about them. The cold tendrils faded, replaced by a warming breeze that brushed against their skin, slicing through any remnants of despair. Lisa gasped as the veil of darkness lifted, revealing the familiar shape of the hospital room before her eyes, the very place they feared most. We did it," she whispered, glancing down at Robert, who blinked, his expression blooming with hope and relief. "Together," he breathed, a soft smile breaking over his lips. "Together, we can face anything." As the last remnants of shadows disintegrated, a new dawn unfurled on the horizon. They stood in silence, absorbing the weight of their victory, hearts pounding in rhythm as one. They had borne witness to the depths of fear, but what they reclaimed was a certainty stronger than any threat. Love. The atmosphere brightened, warmth flooded back into the room, and the shadows ceased their whispers, reduced to mere echoes of the past. In that moment, they were reborn, bound not by anguish, but by a fierce resilience that transcended darkness. "Let us get out of here," Robert suggested, their eyes intertwining, reassured by the strength they had forged. "Yeah," Lisa smiled, feeling buoyant as hope spread. "We didn't break, we evolved." They walked hand in hand towards the door as the first light of dawn peeked through the hospital windows. Behind them, silence returned, one that spoke of peace, healing, and moving forward. As they stepped into the light of a new day, the weight of the shadows faded completely, leaving behind a trail of dust that receded like forgotten nightmares. This was their moment of triumph. But before they could embrace a new beginning, Lisa felt a pang in her heart. One last thought echoed before shutdown, a gentle reminder that always lingered in the back of her mind: they must carry their light forward. To cherish it. To nurture it. To protect it fiercely. And that would be the story they would tell, the battle won through love, the promise of the future illuminating the path ahead. Now, before you leave, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories coming. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this community alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and predictions about what happens next for our heroes, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this uplifting conclusion. Your actions matter more than ever. Let us keep this movement going.